Everyone, happy Saturday. I hope everyone had a uneventful Friday the 13th. It never seems to fail. There's always something that goes wrong on Friday the 13th, isn't there? So welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, this is what estrangement feels like. If you don't know what estrangement is, it is being estranged from family members, sons, daughters, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, mom, dad. Everyone is welcome. So if you're new here, welcome. If you're catching the replay, I'm really glad you found this. Today we're talking about something that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. How estrangement reshapes marriages, extended family relationships, friendships, and even how we move through society. Because estrangement doesn't stay contained. It changes everything around it. And for many parents, some of the hardest parts of estrangement aren't always about the child directly. They're about what shifts quietly everywhere else. So before I dig into any of that, let's just do some little bit of housekeeping. Don't forget to subscribe because I am online every day at 11 o'clock Central Time. I don't have daylight savings time where I am, so it is 11 o'clock Central Time. It could also be Mountain Time because I think they're both the same, but I go with Central Time. Click the notifications, and you'll get to notify me when the session's set up. I usually set up the session for live the night before, so that way it's there and people know it's available. If you have any questions while we're talking, put them in the comments on YouTube, and it will come through to me, and then I can answer them. And I'll answer the best that I can based on my experience. I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a counselor. I'm not anything like that. I just know what I feel, and I know what I have been through. So just drop them in the comments, and I will answer them the best that I can. Tell me where you're joining from. Say hello. I'll tell you. I'm from Rotan, Honduras, although I am Canadian. You might catch that in my words, because most people, when they hear me talk, they know you're Canadian. Doesn't matter where I am, they will pick it up. And then also tell me, do you have estranged sons, or do you have estranged daughters, and how old are they? And if you really want to, tell me how long you've been estranged for, because every one of us is different, and I know we're from around the globe. I have talked to people that are on, I would say, the opposite side of the globe compared to where I am. But it really helps to remind all of us how shared this experience is. Next Wednesday, the schedule is posted on my Facebook page, which is at what's estrangement at what estrangement feels like, and there's a link in my bio to get to it. We have a special guest joining us Wednesday, so I put out a schedule. It's on the schedule. It starts at a different time because she's actually calling from Great Britain, and she is a counselor. So if you have any questions about that you want answered by a counselor who has good an education and has been dealing with this for, I think, over 20 years. So I'm really looking forward to that conversation because I may have questions. Stay tuned. Sharing more details soon. then I'll have to come up. I'm getting close to the end of my list of sessions that I've created to begin with. So I will start a new, I think she's here on Wednesday. So Thursday onward, there will be a new schedule with new topics. And if there's anything that you want me to specifically talk about, put it in the comments. I'll add it to the list and we'll discover it together, because I only know what I know. I only know the questions to ask that I know I should be asking. If I don't know about something, it's not going to cross my mind. So I want to do what's good for all of us, for good for you, good for me, and make sure that this is a very interactive channel, because I know I'm not the only one out there. I know I'm not alone. And I also know that although estrangement and alienation are new words in our space in terms of motherhood, fatherhood, it's been going on for years. It just never had a name. Somebody put a name to it. Somebody from wherever decided that's what it is. And now more and more people are recognizing it, and our children are the ones who are acting on it. Whether that comes from school, whether that comes from peer pressure, whether that comes from they just don't like that we're not following their every whim. I don't know. They just do what they want to do, and there's nothing really that we can do to stop it. So today we're talking about what happens after estrangement begins, and the ripple effect that starts showing up in places you didn't expect. Marriage. One of the biggest shifts that often happens inside of marriage, and most of the time no one sees it from the outside, because on the surface life still looks the same. We don't tell anybody. People ask about the kids, we give them a story. They don't know any different. But underneath there can be tension that's hard to name. For example, I've heard stories where the mother is the one who is not spoken to, or the father, either one. Growing up, I can recall my mother always saying, go talk to your dad. Dad saying, go talk to your mom. If there was any kind of tension between either one of those parties, they encouraged us to work it out. Fix it. That's your mom. That's your dad. It's the only one you're ever going to get. And if you let that go, you're going to have a lifetime of regret. When my mom passed away, and my mom was a hypochondriac, and I probably talk about this a lot of times. So whenever she would message her phone, I'd roll my eyes going, okay, now what? Right? So she cried wolf a lot. In the end, the wolf cried and she died. However, I got told by somebody after a call from them is because we talked, my brothers and sisters and I chalked it up to being a guilt tripper. We're just getting guilt tripped again. But a friend of mine actually said to me, if your mother has to guilt trip you, your mother, the one that gave birth, if she has to guilt trip you to convince you to spend time with her, then who's at fault here? You or your mother? At that particular time, I didn't spend a lot of time with her. I did holidays. I spoke to her every Sunday. I did what my brothers and sisters didn't do. However, After hearing that, I ended up leaving work for the day and I went to my mom. And I stayed with my mom for the next 3 weeks. I came home, I think, pretty much every night. She lived about a half hour to 45 minutes away from me, but I spent as much time as I could with her. Not knowing what 3 weeks was going to look like. I didn't know what was going on because she didn't tell anybody what was going on. She didn't even tell her husband what was going on. But I got the chance to talk to her, to hear her, to listen to her stories, to sit and watch TV with her, to watch her crochet or whatever, right? And then in the third week, I got a call in the middle of the night from my stepfather who said, we've taken your mom into the hospital, which kind of shocked me. But I got into my car right away and I went out to find out what was going on. And she was sitting up in bed. Everything was good. Told me that she's still fighting it. She had just had one chemo session because she had found out that her cancer had metastasized. And I don't want to go into a whole lot of details here because I could go on forever. But anyways, so I called my brothers and sisters in. The doctors had a conversation with us, told us that she probably wouldn't make the night. But I got those 3 weeks with my mom. I got that time. And had I not gotten that time, I would have regretted. I wouldn't have been able to lay her to rest like I did. It hurt. I cried, of course. But I didn't regret anything that we hadn't, like, there was nothing left unsaid. And kids today, they think parents aren't going to have, they think themselves are invincible, let alone their parents, because nothing's going to happen to my parents. Why would it? And if it does, they're just gaslighting me or something. So, butting into the conversation there are things that you need to do. And I'm not religious, but the two main things in the Christian Bible is love only one God and honor your mother and father. Yes, there's 10 commandments. Those got made up God knows how long ago, but the two main things are honor only one God and love your mom and dad. And nobody that's estranged seems to remember that. One of the hardest parts was realizing how differently two people can experience the same loss. There were times where I needed to talk about it constantly, not because. And there were times when my husband just wanted quiet, and not because he didn't care. Hold on. I'm in the marriage. I was still on the mom kick. Sorry about that. So, with regards to marriage, one of the hardest parts about realizing how differently two people can experience the same loss. There are times when I needed to talk about it. I needed to vent. I needed to yell. I needed to scream. I needed to cry. And then there were times where my husband didn't say anything. Yeah, in fact, he doesn't say anything. And it's not because he doesn't care. It's because he doesn't know what to say. And he actually still talks to his son, blood son, not my 3 sons, which became his 3 sons when we married. But because he didn't know what to say, and honestly, sometimes neither of us knew what the other one needed. So the tension in a marriage is it's strong, because especially if one's still communicating with them and one isn't. What did I do? So different. Everything that I do, we talk about, we plan, we organize. I don't do anything unless he's on board. He doesn't do anything unless I'm on board. But yet, here we are. He's still got children, at least one, and I don't. Some couples talk about estrangement nonstop. I think that would be a little too much. I'm of the black humor type personality, so I will say things like, maybe there'll be something, oh, well, that's not true, or that didn't happen with me. Some people avoid it completely, never say a word. Some argue about how to handle it. It's not us. And some never talk about it at all. Now, if you think about getting pregnant and miscarrying, and sorry for anybody who's miscarried, because I don't want to hurt you in any way, but as a mother, if you have a miscarriage, you feel very differently than the man who got you pregnant, because there are two different physical aspects that go with children, right? So it's easy to avoid it completely when you didn't carry that baby for 9 months and go through however many hours of labor to deliver it, spend sleepless nights feeding it, he, she, whatever. I'm going to call it it because I don't want to go on the road of pronouns or whatever. Some argue about how to handle it. Some never talk about it at all. And none of those automatically means something is wrong with the relationship. Most of the time. But communication is hugely important, because not only does feelings need to be validated and comforted and talked about. They need to know they're not alone. I'm not alone in this marriage. I'm not the only one who doesn't have my children communicating with me. But the grief is definitely processed differently. You hear things like, my partner tells me I need to move on. Yeah, I think if my partner were to tell me to move on, I would tell him to move out. Sorry, that's just how I think about things, because it's just not that simple. My spouse won't bring it up. No, what spouse would? Unless it's a woman, men don't bring anything up. He shuts down every time I mention it. Wow, these are like I wrote these. She thinks I dwell too much. So that's about him. And no, that doesn't apply either in my mind of thinking. And underneath all of those, there's usually fear. And fear, huge part in this, because fear is saying the wrong thing to the person you're communicating, or fear of making it worse, fear of not being able to fix it. Nobody wants a spouse who wants to fix things. You want a spouse who's going through the same thing as you, shows that they feel the same way. They get upset on certain things. They get mad about certain things. They stand up for you for certain things. They can't make it any worse. These are our children. There is no worse. And not being able to fix it, really? You can't fix anything. Why would you be able to fix this? Short of saying, that's your mother. don't talk to her like that, or don't treat her like that, or don't do this? Or how about that's your mother? If you're going to be that cruel to her, then don't talk to me either. Stand behind your wife, stand behind your husband. It's a little different when they're children and they're being silly or stupid or whatever they're doing, and they get mad at dad or they get mad at mom. It's temporary. But when it comes down to something this size, so the longevity that goes with this, it's not saying to those people, children, adults, whoever they are, you're going to regret this one day. They'll never even consider reunification. They'll just go about their daily lives doing what they do, not giving a crap. Now I'm pretty strong in terms of standing up for myself. However, it would really be nice to have somebody else stand up for me once in a while. Estrangement doesn't just test love, it tests communication. It forces couples to ask, how do we support each other? Does anybody have any ideas, any comments? Are they hurting differently? Is this a natural progression that when your adult children reach a certain age, they just disappear from your life? That's not what I see. I scroll through Facebook with my friends and I see them having big Thanksgiving dinners with their children all there. I see Mother's Day where their children are all around them, giving them gifts, hugs, kisses. Father's Day, same thing. I'm lucky. I'm not lucky. I don't even get a phone call. I don't get a text message. My birthday is usually the same weekend. If you're watching live, and I see there's a few people online, has estrangement affected your marriage? And you know what? You don't have to comment. It's totally up to you if you want to. But if you wanna contribute, has estrangement affected your marriage? Or changed how you and your partner relate? Made it better? Made it worse? Are you closer? Are you further apart? How does it affect you? When I see that there's some comments, I'll come back and I'll read them and see what people have to say. So outside of marriage and estrangement, we also have extended family, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents. Things get complicated fast because estrangement rarely stays private when it comes to the extended family. And once others know, everyone reacts differently because it all depends on what story they're getting, right? So kids would tell some terrible story about me, whereas they've exaggerated. I got sick. I didn't do that. I didn't make that happen. It happened to me. I didn't do it to hurt them. I didn't do it. I didn't cause it. So anything that happened during that period of being sick had a lot more to do with the fact that I needed them. to be my support. I needed them to love me and to help me get through what I was getting through. And instead, they left. And yes, there was an argument, there was a blow up because I wasn't getting what I needed, and I needed to tell them. You go through I asked again. I made a point out of it to the point where now I'm going to yell about it. 3 strikes, you're out. If you're not going to listen to me, I don't mean very much to you. I typically go with the 3-strike rule. If you haven't heard me by the 3rd time I say something, I'm either doing it myself or I'm screaming at you, because it's not fair to make me have to say it more than once. When you're 4, 5, 6, okay. But when you're an adult, no. You're now an adult. You know how to listen. You're choosing not to. For me, one of the hardest realizations was how quickly silence can spread. And for me also, I moved away. So the silence spread, and I had to do the reconnecting, because I not only lived 5,000 miles away from my friends and family, I had to contact them because they didn't know how to contact me. So there's that. But people who used to call regularly, they stopped calling. And even some of the ones that I have reached out to, it's always me reaching out. Conversations became shorter. I have this one friend who love her to death, but she's so busy with her own life that she doesn't think about anything outside of her own family. And she's got a big family. But unless I message her, I don't generally get a message from her, initiated from her. I have other friends who will just send a message saying, "Hey, how are you?" Or "What are you doing?" Or something. And then they want to get into a FaceTime or something. But this one, she just kind of waits until I message her. And I don't expect to be on someone's radar 24/7, but it's really nice to feel thought about once in a while. And some just disappeared quietly into the woodworks. I have another friend that I have known my entire life. And during my breakdown, she was fed inaccurate. And yes, she has her own life, but we used to exchange letters. When Facebook became reality, we became friends and we spoke often. On her birthdays, I would always write some big long story about our friendship and how long it's like. She's literally the longest friend that I've ever had. But I had to go to Facebook the other day because I hadn't seen anything to see if she was still there. She was. So she's either not using Facebook anymore or very often, but she never messages me. It would be me messaging her. I have a problem with that, because if relationships don't go 2 ways, they're not relationships. I hear from other parents. My sister talks to both of us, but won't talk about what happened, which can be true. If you never talk about it, it's never going to go away. You have to eventually sit down and have the conversation about why did this happen. And you may not have the specifics, You may not have to get down into and pick each piece apart, but having a conversation about, we went through this, it lasted this time, it hurt like hell, and I know you don't want to talk about it, but we're definitely good. You're not going to do this again, are you? Because that would be my biggest fear. If I let them back in, how long until they do it again? My brother says he doesn't want any involvement. This is actually funny because before my brother passed away, I had called him. And he says, I can't help you. I don't have any money. And I'm like, I don't want your money. I want my brother. My in-laws are acting like nothing happened. So I guess that would depend on if the in-laws are still communicating with that person or not. And often this isn't about loyalty. It's about discomfort. It's kind of like, when you get if you've been through a divorce or a breakup of some kind, and while you were together, you had a group full of friends, you hung out with all these people, and then you split up. So all these people are kind of standing there going, oh, I believe the whole story. I've heard both. But who do I really want to be friends with? That's really an uncomfortable position to be in. To have to choose and make sides. Or make and choose sides. Estrangement forces other people into emotional positions that they feel unequipped to hold. Not only unequipped to hold, but if it has never happened to them, if they've never seen it, if they've never had it in their families in any sense of the word, how would they know? It's like there's a question out there and you don't know to ask the question because you didn't know that question existed. Many respond by stepping back. I'm just going to stay out of this because it's not my circus. Those aren't my monkeys. I got my own life to deal with. Perfectly okay answer. People get to choose how they handle it. And the people involved, well, they have to learn to live with the fact that not only did they lose their children, possibly all of them, one of them, any of them, they may have to accept the fact that their spouse didn't. They may have to accept the fact that their friends know the story and are choosing the children's side or choosing the mother's side, or if it's a father, son, mother, daughter mixture of things, they're picking a side of some kind. It's okay, except for the husband's part. I draw a hard line with that one because if you're married to somebody, that's who you're growing old with. That's who's going to look after you when you're 60, 70, 80, 90 years old. That's who looks after you today. That's who loves you today. They should always be on your side, even if they think you're wrong. Because to the world, you're a team. Separately in your house, that conversation may go a little bit differently. But if you don't have a united front to the rest of the world, You're not a united team. And that to me spells DIVORCE, because united is what makes a marriage. Any extended family relationships changed for you? Did anyone surprise you, good or bad? I don't see anybody putting any comments, and you know what, that may come later, but it's there. Friendships and social withdrawal. This part is quieter, but just as real, because estrangement is exhausting to explain. Oh my God, is it ever? Especially over and over and over again. I created a video because I didn't want to tell the story 10 times over, because if I missed a part with that person and they picked it up, oh, then there's even more trouble. So many parents stop talking about it, and over time, they start pulling back socially. When I go out socially, nobody would have a clue. There are, I think, maybe 2 people on this island that know anything about me personally in terms of my family life. There were periods when I just did not want to go anywhere. Not because I didn't want connection, but because I didn't want the questions. I don't want sympathy. I don't want pity. I don't want someone to try and fix it. I don't want to have to explain it over and over and over again. I still don't fully understand it myself. And if there's anybody out there that does understand it, right, unless you're an abusive parent and you know it, it just doesn't seem like it's something that should be happening. You only get one mother, one father. And unless they are totally harming you physically, abusively, there is verbal abuse. I understand that. But as an adult child, they could say, you know, you are doing this when you say that. So they become more immature than actually their age defines. If they can't ask you simple questions to say, I don't like that, can you please stop? By pointing it out, maybe it'll fix itself. But unless communication happens, like I've seen many people who say that their estranged daughter or their estranged son has said, I don't want to talk to you anymore. There's no contact. Don't email me. Don't phone me. Don't knock on my door. Don't show up at my house. Don't show up at my work. All those things. For me, my children have not said anything. They just stopped. I hear I stopped going to gatherings. I avoid certain friends, and I don't answer calls like I used to. Slowly, life can get smaller. It did get smaller for me. Instead of being in a metropolitan area of Toronto, GTA, I'm on an island. So the number of people on this island is equivalent to the town that I lived in. I know more of them. And I have the hiccups. Sorry. It's not weakness. That's emotional fatigue. And it's incredibly common. Here's what I want you to hear. If your relationship shifted, that doesn't mean you failed. It means something significant happened. Estrangement reshapes identity. I'm no longer a mom. And some of my friends are. Most of my friends are. Some of them aren't. And identity reshapes relationships. Some deepen, some disappear, and some surprise you. I had people show up for me who I barely knew. And they showed up in more ways than one. And I never asked for it. We didn't have that kind of relationship. But they were there for me. I knew it, and they knew it. Has anybody ever stood up for you that you didn't expect? Before we close tonight, I want to leave you with this. If your world feels smaller right now, that doesn't mean it always will be. Sometimes estrangement strips life down so we can rebuild differently, more honestly, more carefully, and eventually more peacefully. If this episode resonated with you, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications. You don't want to miss what's coming next. And don't forget, we have a special guest joining us Wednesday. I'll do another post in the Facebook group. Don't forget to like the Facebook group so you can get those notifications either. Thank you for being here. Gives me somebody to talk to, even though beyond this little square that I'm looking at, I don't know any one of you. And I'm telling you things that I wouldn't tell people that I'm closest to. So that anonymity can allow you to say things that will help you grow, help you learn and understand, and maybe help you get through this. So take care of yourselves. Be safe. Share your love. Feel your love. Take time for self-care. And I'll see you next time. Have a great day.